Hey, good morning and welcome. My name is Bruce Watkins with the Field Marketing Team, and today we will be having a review of the OpenStack 2016, which was held last week in Austin, Texas. Presenting is Kelly Beckman, who is a Senior Product Marketing Manager and attended the show last week at OpenStack. And before we get started, we have a couple housekeeping items to take care of. First, today will be recorded, and it will be available on SolidFire.com probably near the end of the day. And keep background noise at a minimum. The lines will be muted. Today's session will be about 20-25 minutes, and we will have Q&A at the end, but we also have the chat feature you can use, which is located at the lower left-hand corner of your screen. And as a thank you for attending, we will be sending out a complimentary pair of socks that are from SolidFire as a thank you. And lastly, look for some additional webinars kind of in our What You Missed series that will occur after DockerCon in late June and will also occur after VMworld in late August. So again, thank you for attending What You Missed OpenStack 2016. And with that, I'll hand it over to Kelly Beckman.
Thanks, Bruce. So I'm Kelly Beckman. I'm a Product Marketing Manager at SolidFire. And today I'm going to go over exactly what Bruce said, which is what you missed at the OpenStack Summit in Austin, Texas. So our agenda for today is we'll talk quickly about the OpenStack Summit just as a whole. I'll briefly touch on the keynotes and the Superuser Awards, then talk about the Certified OpenStack Administrator program that finally kicked off. There's some updates and trends in OpenStack, a Cinder update, and then a quick note from SolidFire at the end. So who am I? I am a Senior Product Marketing Manager at SolidFire. I've been here for 2.5 years. I have 7+ years of tech and 2 years of OpenStack focus. This was my 4th design summit. So I started in Paris, and then I went to Vancouver, and I've been to Tokyo, and now I've gone to Austin. So really seeing a nice evolution of the summit since those days in Paris. You can find me on Twitter. I am at Kelly Beckman, and my email address is kelly.beckman@netapp.com. So the OpenStack Summit in Austin, it was 4 days plus a design summit. They roll the design summit where the developers come down and start coding and kicking off and discussing priorities for the next OpenStack release, which will come out 6 months from now. But there's also 4 days of sessions and keynotes and a user conference. There were over 7,500 attendees from 62 countries. It was highlighted during one of the keynotes that the very first OpenStack Summit had 75 attendees. So that is a huge amount of growth in a very short time. This version of OpenStack that was just released prior to the summit, Mitaka, had over 178 countries, developers from those countries contribute code. 2,336 developers from 345 organizations were developing and contributing code into the Mitaka release, which released in early April in advance of the Design Summit. So the first day, Keynote was kicked off. Donna Scott from Gartner got up and spoke a lot about bimodal IT and how Mode 1 is really for predictable workloads. It's safe, it's accurate. But Mode 2 is really exploratory. It's about agility and speed and ways to add digital initiatives. You know, a lot of companies, it's not an either or. They're deploying both Mode 1 and Mode 2. And in fact, predictions that Mode 2 applications will eventually become Mode 1 when the apps become predictable, when uncertainty reduces scale. So Mode 2 can move to be more predictable and scalable. Jonathan Bryce got up and spoke to the audience as well, and really what he touched on was how disruption can be a huge opportunity for companies, that IT environments are becoming increasingly diverse, and that OpenStack can be a strategy for taking advantage of IT disruption and really revolutionizing your infrastructure. And then he also touched on some of the more common use cases they're seeing in OpenStack these days, which is private cloud, public cloud, telecom and NFV. We'll touch on that a little bit in this session, and then really research and academics. Then a good stream of customers and end users took the stage. AT&T got up to speak about their AT&T integrated cloud and how they are completely transforming their infrastructure. Mirantis spoke and really got to the heart of issues, which is OpenStack won't succeed or fail based on the technology. It succeeds or fails based on people, process, and culture. That for every one technology problem you might face, you're going to face 9 people and process issues. So really making sure that the culture is ripe and receptive to an OpenStack cloud is a key to success. SAP got up and spoke about running IoT on an OpenStack cloud. Red Hat spoke about OpenStack in production. We learned from the OpenStack Foundation that 65% of OpenStack deployments these days are running in production, so that is a big increase over previous user surveys. And then Volkswagen got up and spoke about their cloud, and this quote was pretty great. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. And so they are completely changing their IT. Then the keynote on day 2, Mark Collier, the COO, got up and spoke, and he talked about some user survey results. And that user survey is out available at openstack.org and the Superuser site. It's always a great piece of information to learn what folks are actually doing with their OpenStack deployments. But containers, NFV, and bare metal were the topics that users said they wanted to learn the most about, containers by far. People are really, really, really interested in containers in an OpenStack environment. And then individual discrete technologies they expressed interest in were Kubernetes, Cloud Foundry, OpenShift, Mesos, Docker Swarm, and Cloudify. So OpenStack is really changing the culture of IT consumption through just the orchestrated layer of compute, servers, and networking, but also all of these new technologies that can be run on top. So customers like Time Warner Cable, LivePerson, Smart City, Cisco, CoreOS, and others then took the stage to talk a little bit about what they're doing in OpenStack. There was a great demo of running containerized OpenStack on top of Kubernetes, which really blew up Twitter. Everyone thought that was extremely interesting. So during the first keynote day, the Superuser Finalists were announced. This is the award for those folks that are really deploying OpenStack well and are doing innovative things with it, but also contribute a lot to the community. So the 4 finalists this year were AT&T, Betfair, DreamHost, and Workday. This is the 4th show that the Superuser Award has been awarded, and it's voted on by foundation members. And it seemed fitting that AT&T, having just gotten on stage and given a good overview of their OpenStack implementation and their AT&T integrated cloud, was this year's winner, or this summit's winner of the Superuser Award. So a little bit about AT&T and what they're doing. They had seen a 150,000% increase in network traffic from the year 2007. So they were realizing that their infrastructure really needed to evolve in order to keep up with just demands, but also capably address all of their business, both internal and external. So ultimately what they decided to do was create AT&T integrated cloud. They needed over 1,000 zones. So what they have is OpenStack running this. Fuel automates their AIC zones. They can deploy in days. They've automated all the design, build, and manage phases of this cloud. And really what's fueling it is they use network on demand service and NFV. Their entire OpenStack cloud is really powered by network function virtualization and turning networking into more software-defined networking that can be spun up on demand as zones are needed. And they can provision this in minutes. And so the details to the right can be found at Stackalytics, but it's the commits and contributions that AT&T has made to date in the OpenStack environment. So next, the Certified OpenStack Administrator. This project was announced in Tokyo, but Austin was actually the first place where admins could come and take tests and become a Certified OpenStack Administrator. So it's really taking a programmatic approach to creating experts out there in the field who are qualified to administer OpenStack and be those on-staff experts that you would need. So some updates and trends. Mitaka was the new release that in Tokyo we had the design summit for Mitaka, so it released early April, and it focused on 3 things. Simplified manageability. There was simplified manageability within Nova, within Keystone, within Neutron, really trying to make OpenStack easier to use. They also focused on greater scalability across several of the projects, and then just an improved user experience. OpenStack is continuing to mature. We say that a lot, but it is true that it's becoming a more user-friendly cloud orchestration platform. And then containers in NFV continue to be a big trend. They were a big trend in Tokyo. They were still a big trend in Austin. Many sessions on containers were standing room only. Folks wanted to know how to better use Docker within an OpenStack environment, how to utilize Mesos, Kubernetes. There was that demo of containerized OpenStack running on Kubernetes. And then many of the telcos are embracing network function virtualization. This is kind of becoming ubiquitous with telcos at the OpenStack summits, is all of them are investigating or deploying some flavor of NFV. It really is kind of the technology and means to enable a next generation network for these telcos. So a quick Cinder update. Cinder near and dear to our heart here at SolidFire because we are block storage. The Cinder in Mitaka was when broad replication support was finally supported by most of the drivers. They had done a lot of the development work for Liberty, but it didn't make it into the final release. It did make it into the final release of Mitaka. But some of the other features in Mitaka related to Cinder, the ability to back up snapshots, consistency group API now returns volume type IDs. They added support for API micro versions. There's a new configuration option to enable you to discard support for any backend. The Cinder backup service is decoupled from Cinder volume. And then a lot of the developers that were at the show were there to attend not the Mitaka design workshop, but the Newton design workshop, which is the next release of OpenStack that will happen this fall in advance of the Barcelona Summit. So a few words from SolidFire. Our storage, obviously, high-performance systems designed for large-scale infrastructure. We are very deeply integrated with OpenStack. The next slide really touches on that. So we are the performance block storage choice for OpenStack through our deep OpenStack integration. Our driver enables all OpenStack storage features. We can set and maintain quality of service on a per volume basis, manage that through OpenStack. We can create snaps and clones and manage SolidFire volumes directly. All of SolidFire's goodness is presented up through OpenStack. You can configure us as a backend in minutes. We are very, very simple, not only to get up and running, but to manage an environment. And our driver is fully integrated into OpenStack. But what's not presented on this slide, but it's worthy to note, is we are now part of NetApp. We're part of this broader portfolio of amazing storage choices for an OpenStack environment. SolidFire is Cinder block storage, but ONTAP can be presented as manila file storage, and they have storage grade web scale, which can be object storage and Swift. And so really, NetApp offers the most comprehensive portfolio of storage for an OpenStack environment, hands down. We have the broadest commercial storage usage of Cinder. We are super big contributors to both the Cinder and Manila projects. So the performance block storage choice for OpenStack, we have validated interoperability with many of the key distributions: Red Hat, Mirantis, Cisco, VMware integrated OpenStack. We just announced a new customer, HedgeServe, who's running VMware integrated OpenStack on SolidFire. OpenStack Core itself, we're certified with HP Helion, Platform 9. Pick your flavor of OpenStack, SolidFire will work. And we have many notable companies, including FICO, Lithium, Tableau, and we just announced HedgeServe. So updates from us as well, some announcements we made at the show. We've released a Python SDK to make coding in the Python language much easier on a SolidFire system based on our own internal research, but also anecdotes and that OpenStack Superuser survey. Python is the most commonly preferred programming language in an OpenStack environment. So this Python SDK will make running SolidFire that much easier. We released our Mirantis Unlocked reference architecture. It's available on Mirantis' website under Partners. You can find SolidFire. It's located there. Just prior to the OpenStack Summit, we announced as part of NetApp and a broad portfolio that we are a program partner for the Mesosphere OpenDCOS program, which is really created to make containers very much easier to use, a containerized ecosystem, and have great persistent storage underneath those containers. In support of that, we've released a Docker driver for SolidFire, and we are doing the integration work to be part of NetApp's broad NetApp Docker Volume plugin, which currently supports ONTAP but will support SolidFire and E-Series. So all of NetApp storage is really working to make utilizing containers with persistent storage much easier. And then we announced FICO and HedgeServe customer case studies before the show. So that is all I have at this moment. You can check out SolidFire's OpenStack solution page. It is solidfire.com/OpenStack. Very simple. We've got a solution brief, reference architectures, the new Mirantis Unlocked RA is out there, some videos. We have a couple of interesting blogs around the difference between block and object storage in an OpenStack environment, why you might use containers versus VMs. We also have a blog that talks about that new Docker driver and gives a demo of how that driver works. And then we have a couple upcoming events. We've got DockerCon in June in Seattle. We've got the Red Hat Summit coming up. There's some OpenStack days in New York in August. And then we will be at the Barcelona Summit for OpenStack in October of this year. So that is all I have to present at this moment. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Okay, doesn't seem like there are any questions, and I don't see any in chat, so I'm going to turn it back over to Bruce.
Kelly, outstanding. Thank you so much. Hopefully a great review of what you missed at OpenStack 2016. As Kelly mentioned, we will also be at DockerCon in late June. We would love for you to stop by our booth. However, if you cannot, look for a What You Missed series after DockerCon and again after VMworld. Again, with that, we will be sure and send out a pair of socks here in the next day or two to those who dialed in, and wanted to say thank you, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks so much.